Hello everyone, welcome to this video. I am your English teacher Suchitra Sakya. This is the second part of letter writing. In the first part, we talked about what is letter, why letter writing is important, and then after we talked about formal and informal letters. Then we looked at the format of formal letter, and even I presented you a sample of formal letter. I hope you learned formal letter very well and you are now able to write a formal letter. So now in this section, we are going to learn how to write informal letter. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started with informal letter. As we already talked about informal letters are written to our parents, relatives, acquaintances, close friends, pen friends. So it is there is no any restrictions, there is no any formality because we write these letters to our close ones. But we should follow the format. Of course, there is the proper format of informal letter writing also. So let's see the format. What is the format? First of all, we should mention address of the sender. Here we are writing the letter, means we are the sender. So first of all, we should write our address at the top of the letter. Then comes date of the day when you are writing this letter. Then salutation is important here as well. As we talked in formal letter, salutation was dear sir. Now the salutation is as you like. Just like if you're writing to your parents, then dear father. If you're writing to your friends, then dear friend, blah blah blah. You can even write your friend's name, nickname, or anything. Salutation. Then after comes the body of the letter. Just like we divided the body of the letter of formal letter into three parts like introduction, body, and conclusion, here also you can divide the body of the letter into three parts. But that three parts, it is not compulsory to be only three paragraphs. You can write any length in this informal letter. So the three paragraphs can be even divided into 4, 5, or more than that. Regarding the thing, what things you are going to present in the letter, or what talks you are going to write in your letter. Then finally, we don't have much restrictions here, what to write, what not to write, but finally you should write your name. The person should know, the person who is receiving your letter should know your name. If the person calls you with your nickname, then you can write your nickname. If the person calls you with some different kinds of names, then you can even write that, because it is all your personal letter. But what thing you have to remember is everything should be in the left align. As you can see over here, I'm pointing everything: date, address, salutation, body, sender's name, everything in left hand side. So this is the format we have to take care while writing informal letter. Now I have a sample for you, sample of informal letter. This is the address, sender's address, Gabahal, comma, Lalitpur. As you have written informal letter also like this, you should remember, and all capital initials should be capital, and comma and full stop you have to remember. Then date 22nd June, comma 2020, full stop. Yes, this is the format of writing address and date. Then after we salute the receiver, writing dear friend, dear uncle, dear father, whom you are going to write the letter. You have to write the salutation, then you can begin your letter. You can see over here, I have divided the simple letter, short letter also into three parts. Here in the first, I have given introduction, like this is the introduction part, like I have received the letter, last letter, and I'm showing my gratitude for that. I'm extremely glad to get your letter and know about your good grades. So this is my beginning. Then comes, this is the body of the letter, in which I talked about my main topic, that is the online classes which are going on nowadays in this lockdown period. And finally, this is my concluding part, in which I want my receiver to write a letter very soon to me regarding his or her classes. So here, and this is the closing In closing, I can write any lovely things while closing the letter. Here I have written my best, your best buddy, and my name. Here you can write anything, like what your friend calls you, what your relatives calls you, or any personal touch you can give here at the end of the letter. So this is a sample of informal letter. Here you can see, here it is divided into 3 paragraphs, but here according to the length of your letter, you can divide into as many paragraphs you like. So this is the sample of informal letter. Now let's move on. I'm going to give you some tips. In the first part of the letter writing, you learned about formal letter, and in this part, just now, you learned about informal letter. So now, some tips how you can make your formal and informal letter both very, very good one, very, very logical one. So now I'll give you some tips. First point is identify the type of the letter. Before you begin to write, you should know what type of letter you are writing. Either it is a formal letter to some higher authority, or it is an informal letter to some of your friends. That is very, very important step. Then after knowing that, after determining what type of letter you are writing, now goes to another step. Before that, you can see over here, suppose this is the example, suppose you are writing to the principal of your school, then obviously that's a formal letter. Whereas you were writing to an old friend catching up after a long time, then definitely that becomes informal letter. And we know that formal letter, informal letter have different formats to follow. So which format to follow? First of all, for that you should recognize what type of letter you are going to write. Now let's move on to the second point, that is make sure you open and close the letter correctly. It means begin and end. Open and close means begin and end the letter correctly. And for this also, we already talked that in formal letter you have to be more and more cautious. You can see here, opening a letter in the correct manner is very important. Formal letters open with a particular structure and greeting. Yes, we talked about this in our format also and the sample also. Whereas in informal letters can be addressed to the person's name or any informal greeting as you wish. So in informal letter, there is no any particular way you can close or open, just you need to follow the format. Let's get continued with the tips. Some more tips for you. Even when closing the letter, formal letters end respectfully and impersonally. Yes, just like yours sincerely, yours trustworthy, yours obediently. You have to be very particular. You have to be very respected while ending the letter as well. Whereas this is not needed in informal letter. In informal letters, you may end with very personal touch. Your loving brother, your loving son, whatever. Next, a formal letter is always supposed to be polite and considerate. Even if it is a complaint letter, the point must be made in a careful and courteous manner. Yes, language is very much important to convey our message. Even if we are angry, even if we are complaining about something, our language must be very, very polite and considerate. And we should be to the point what we want in our formal letters. Whereas in informal letter, the language also becomes informal. Now we have the last point here. And another important factor to be considered is the length of the letter you are writing. If it is a formal letter, then it is generally to the point, precise, and short. Yes, we should be very to the point in formal letter, because the higher authority people don't have much time to read our letter. They just want to know why we wrote the letter, what is our complaint, or what is our demand or something. So it should be very short and precise, whereas the length of an informal letter is determined by the message in the letter and the relation to the recipient. Means in informal letter, we write to our parents, brothers, sisters, relatives. So the what message we want to give in the informal letter, according to that, we can manage the length. But it should not be too long that the recipient finds very boring to read. It should be adequate and the reader must enjoy reading your letter. All right, this much about letter writing. I think we talked much about letter writing in this session. Like we talked about formal letter, informal letter. I even gave you the proper format, and according to the format, I gave you some samples as well. So I hope you learned very well. So this much for today. This is the end of the letter writing session. Thank you. Hope to see you in the next class. Bye-bye.